What a going people, welcome again back to the channel. And of course, if this is the first time you're joining us, I'm gonna ask you to, subscribe to the channel so that when we drop new material, you are gonna be among the first to to be notified. And if you like the video, hit the like button and ring the notification bell thing. Now, we want to take on this issue here regarding Tom Tavares-Finson, his decision to wade into a trial matter that involves Councillor Norman Scott, who is the mayor of Spanish Town, and it's actually an election matter where Scott had apparently opted to contest a seat in St. Elizabeth in September 3 general election. And so he apparently had an altercation with a member of the JLP team, a JLP supporter, during or on election day at one of the constituency office, the polling office in St. Elizabeth. And it resulted in some injury, to the individual. According to reports, the person had her eyeglasses damaged and so on. And so the police was called. Mr. Smith Mr. Scott, rather, Norman Scott, was essentially charged for the offense. Now, again, remember, Scott was running as a candidate for the People's National Party. And so the complainant, who was a JLP party worker, made a formal report to the police, and it resulted in a criminal charge being leveled against them. Now, the matter has drawn significant public attention because Scott is a big political figure within the PNP. And of course, it also pulled in Tom Tavares-Finson, who himself is a significant political figure. He's the leader of the Senate, appointed by the Jamaica Labour Party. So he's a Senate appointee and leader of the Senate. He is a man, an attorney at law, and if I'm not mistaken, I think his son, who is also appearing for the complainant in this case. Now, Mr. Finson has in fact indicated that he is applying for a Fiat to prosecute the case himself. And just so people understand what a Fiat is, right? A Fiat to prosecute is essentially is a formal written authorization issued by the Director of Public Prosecution that grants permission to a private individual or entity to institute or continue criminal proceedings in a matter where the DPP's consent is legally required. Now, in Jamaica, criminal prosecutions are generally under the authority of the DPP, and this particular instance with Mayor Scott is a criminal matter, as per Section 94 of the Jamaica Constitution. But private individuals can, and in some circumstances, initiate a prosecution for a criminal offense that where they refer to it as a private prosecution. Now, a private citizen who wishes to bring a criminal charge against someone, for example, a police officer or a public servant or a government official, the matter touches on the public interest, the state's legal machinery, or the Crown's prerogative. And one other instance when a Fiat is required is when the law expressly requires the DPP's consent before prosecution can begin. Now, without that Fiat, any proceedings initiated would be invalid or could be stopped by the DPP at any time. So how it works is that the individual writes to the DPP submitting a formal request, providing evidence to support the proposed prosecution, and a statement outlining why the matter merits prosecution. The DPP's office review, file reviews the file and determine whether there is sufficient evidence to justify the charge, whether prosecution is in the public interest, and if the DPP is satisfied, they can issue the Fiat. Now, the issue as it stands is not about whether Tom Tavares-Finson has the right or to submit this Fiat, because he can. Under the law, he can. That's where the PNP has taken issue with his instructions. In fact, on Saturday, the PNP issued a release that stated in part that it would be wholly improper for a known political operative of the JLP to be granted a Fiat to prosecute a political officer aligned with the opposing political party. And so the issue is a very, tense one, or can be, because what it does, first of all, if the complainant believes that they have a case, they have the right to take it to the court. The question of Mr. Finson wading into the matter tend to ask the question, beg the question of whether this is in the best political interest of the country, right? Not just the JLP or the PNP interest, because the matter is already before the court. The court, the complainant has secured a battery of lawyers who Mr. Tavares-Finson now wants to attach himself to become a part of. In fact, he wants to go and try the case himself. And it is not an illegality for him to do that. What is important is it in the best interest? Does it offer justice to the person who is being accused? And is it a good thing based on where we are politically and where we're coming from that this happens? It's also a big test too of the new the new director of public prosecutions. Of course, she just took office a couple of weeks ago after my lady finally walked away with much fanfare. Jacqueline Thompson is her name. So this is kind of a test, and one wonders if the whole idea of Mr. Tavares-Finson wading into this matter is whose purpose is best served. Whose purpose is best served, and is it an instance where the party politically is testing what is the response of the DPP to the request? So there is some political gamesmanship that seems to be playing out here, and so one wonders, what is the thinking of Tom Tavares-Finson? Now, the DPP, as I say, have some questions that she will have to weigh, right? The PNP is arguing that Tom Tavares-Finson wading into this, Mr. Scott cannot get a fair trial if Tom Tavares-Finson prosecutes, and this is not based on Mr. Finson doing anything out of the way. I think what they're saying is that all of this hinges on the risk of a perceived bias, because Finson, as head of the Senate, is chairman of the Senate. He is also a member of the Electoral Committee on behalf of the JLP. So essentially, it's like you have an opportunity to prosecute your enemy, and it looks a little fishy. Now, if the DPP declines the Fiat to Mr. Tavares-Finson, there is a likelihood that she could decline it, citing the need to preserve public confidence. Because at the end of the day, what Tavares-Finson is doing here is testing or challenging the framework within within which the justice system operates. And already most Jamaicans are not too happy with the justice system. And so the question is, based on his waiting within the political process, is it a good thing for him to take on this case, right? The DPP can also proceed with the prosecution directly or assign this to an independent senior counsel, which is not tied to either of the political parties, which is really what should happen. What that would do if Ms. Thompson decides to go that route is that A, it protects the victim's right to justice. That's the person who raised the case. It also protects the accused, Norman Scott's right to a fair and impartial trial process. And more importantly, what it also does is that it protects the integrity of the justice system and protects it from any kind of political taint, right? So the question is the Fiat or the decision to apply for the Fiat legal? Of course it is. It is legally valid. Is there a risk of bias? And the answer to that is yes, in the extreme, given Tom Tavares-Finson's political office. Is there any implication for providing for a fair trial? The concern is about the appearance of justice. That's the principle that it is testing. And so in my opinion, right, based on my research, the DPP should assume the prosecution or delegate the case to a neutral attorney. Now, again, while Tom Tavares-Finson, Senator Tavares-Finson's application is legally permissible, the question is, it is politically and ethically ill-advised. Is it? Me personally believe that it is politically and ethically ill-advised because of his dual political and institutional roles. Remember, he is part of the electoral framework, right? And granting him the authority to prosecute a political opponent could erode public trust in both the judicial process and the Electoral Commission. Now, so for me, I don't see the necessity. It is, again, a test of power. My opinion, Mr. Finson seems to want to usurp his authority on the process, to test, to show that him have the clout and the ability to involve himself in the process, which in my opinion is not a good political decision. Either side, it's not good for either side. I believe that the victim deserves the right to a good, fair, clean trial, but that can be obtained without him getting himself involved in it. And we need to kind of reduce this stress between the two political parties in the country. We need to move away from that kind of thing. And every decision that we make that moves us further and further away from that time is a win for Jamaica. This kind of approach by Mr. Tavares-Finson harkens back to the days of the 70s when we cut each other throat as PNP and JLP. Tell me what you think about our meeting. If you agree with me, let me see your comment in the comment section. And of course, if you like the video, hit the like button, hit the notification bell as well. And if you haven't done so, subscribe to the channel. Of course, we like take on them kind of subject because that's what we need to do, is to inform and try to educate people. A lot of people out there with a whole heap of misinformation. A lot of people out there just too tied to the politics, and it now get we nowhere. And so that's the purpose of my little channel here. More time.